Welcome back to Scout Report. Changing managers mid-season is often a sign that things are not going well at a football club, and in many cases it is justified. But sadly, the solution doesn't always work out either. Let's take a look at 3 clubs currently struggling to make it work with their new coaches. Florian Kohfeldt. The managerial merry-go-round that took place in the Bundesliga last summer hasn't proved very successful for a number of clubs, but Wolfsburg have arguably fared the worst. Having seen Oliver Glasner leave for Frankfurt after guiding them to Champions League qualification, they hired Mark van Bommel, who'd been out of work for almost 2 years and whose only managerial experience was an 18-month spell at PSV. He got off to the worst possible start, accidentally making one more substitution than was permitted in his first game against 4th-tier Preußen Münster in the DFB Pokal first round, which saw the club disqualified from the competition. And despite winning each of his first 4 Bundesliga games, performances were far from convincing, and after failing to win the next 8 in all competitions, he was sacked. However, replacement Florian Kohfeldt hasn't fared much better. The young coach, whose 20-year association with Werder Bremen came to a painful end when he was sacked with 1 game of the 2021 season remaining, also enjoyed a winning start to his time at Wolfsburg, recording 3 consecutive victories after being appointed in October. The fact that one of them came against Bayer Leverkusen and another against Red Bull Salzburg in the Champions League suggested good times were ahead for Die Wölfe. But he's won just twice in 15 games since then, losing 10 of them and with one of their victories coming against bottom place Greuther Fürth. After 4 months in charge, he has actually sustained a slightly worse win percentage than Van Bommel. As this goes out, Wolfsburg sit just 5 points above the relegation playoff, while only 4 teams have scored fewer goals than them. They also rank 11th for shots and expected goals, while Kohfeldt recently said that staying clear of relegation is the club's priority, adding that there is little point daydreaming about anything else. While there's a chance this quote sounds more severe in direct translation to English, it is nevertheless pretty alarming for a side full of talented players who finished in the top 4 last term, and a club that has spent €76 million on transfers since last summer, their biggest outlay in half a decade. And while performances have improved in recent weeks, generating more XG than their opponents in 3 of their last 4 outings, it's clear problems remain at the Volkswagen Arena. The fact they are underperforming their expected goals suggests that they may be unlucky in front of goal, but their shot accuracy percentage indicates this isn't really the case. They are currently putting just 31% of their shots on target, the second worst record in the Bundesliga, while their XG per 90 has increased only marginally from 1.4 to 1.5 since Kohfeldt took over. With talismanic striker Wout Weghorst sold to Burnley, and Lucas Mmecha only just returning from an injury he sustained in December, Kohfeldt has been short of options up front, although returning veteran Max Kruse has enjoyed a bright start, averaging 2.1 shots and 2.1 key passes per 90 minutes since arriving from Union Berlin at the end of January. With the creative output of Maximilian Arnold and Riddle Baku nowhere near the levels of last season, and the defence still looking shaky against quality opposition, Kohfeldt still has several issues despite an uptick in form. Recent seasons have proven that no one is too big to go down in the Bundesliga, but Wolfsburg should still have enough to stay up. Either way, it's clear Kohfeldt has not been the quick fix many had hoped. Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard is perhaps a controversial choice for a video like this. But given we are judging managerial changes that have taken place mid-season, we are studying a relatively small sample size of performances and results. And so far, the English manager has not found a consistent winning formula at Aston Villa. Much like his German counterpart Kohfeldt, the former Rangers boss enjoyed a bright start to his new job, leading a side that looks in danger of entering a relegation battle to 4 wins in his opening 6 games, with Man City and Liverpool the only opponents he failed to beat, both recording narrow wins over the Villains. They've won just 2 of their last 9 games in all competitions at the time of recording, one of them a 1-0 win against a managerless Everton, and losing to Brentford, Newcastle and Watford. Fans shouldn't be worried just yet. Gerrard's 40% win rate is still a very decent improvement on the 27% that got Dean Smith sacked, and the side has on average conceded fewer expected goals per game than under the last manager. The problem, it seems, is that despite possessing a forward line full of talent and bolstered by the arrival of Philippe Coutinho in January, they are struggling to score. After 25 games, they have generated just 26.8 expected goals, less than any Premier League rival bar Wolves, Newcastle, Burnley and Norwich, while no squad member has scored more than 6. This is a clear indication that chance creation is seriously lacking at Villa Park, and while this can at least be partly attributed to the sale of Jack Grealish, who produced more key passes per 90 than anyone else bar Kevin De Bruyne last season, it shouldn't be this big a problem considering they signed Emiliano Buendia and Leon Bailey last summer. Bailey has only just returned from a 2-month injury layoff, but even before then was only creating 1 chance per 90, the worst showing of his career and a steep drop from 2.1 in his final season at Bayer Leverkusen. Buendia, who averaged 2.9 chances per 90 for Norwich when they finished bottom of the league in 2019-20, is producing just 2 now, but is still the side's top creator, with no one else aside from Coutinho and Luca Dean, who have played just 12 games between them, averaging above 1.5. As a result, Villa are taking just 11.5 shots a game, a figure that ranks 14th in the league below Everton and Newcastle. By comparison, last season they averaged 13.6 shots a match, a figure only beaten by Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea and Leeds. Recent performances have been particularly troubling, with GERRARD's side generating fewer expected goals than their opponents in games against Watford, Newcastle, Leeds and Everton. And while XG alone doesn't give the fullest picture, looking at when chances are created within matches gives a good indication of the side's ability to manage games. Against Watford, Everton marginally led on expected goals before conceding in the 77th minute and created almost nothing after that. Against Newcastle, they managed just 1 shot, a blocked effort from range, in the first 45 minutes. They are also pressing less aggressively under GERRARD, somewhat surprising given how he sets his Rangers side up. Before he took over, they were allowing opponents just 10.7 passes per defensive action, and that has since risen to 13.3. The fact they are winning possession less frequently in the opposition third also helps to explain why they have lost their bite in front of goal. As the Athletic's Aston Villa correspondent Greg Evans recently wrote, they have only really played well in one 25-minute spell since Coutinho joined the club, the period in which they put 3 past an incredibly open Leeds defence. Fans will be hoping their current form is just a blip. But if GERRARD can't turn things around before the end of the season, then confidence in his ability to improve an expensively assembled, talented squad will begin to wane. Tayfun Korkut. It's never wise to bank on good decision making at Hertha Berlin. Since businessman Lars Windhorst bought a stake in the club in 2019, they have racked up the 3rd largest net spend in Germany, and yet are occupying the relegation playoff spot as this is written. They've won just twice since October and were recently on the end of a 6-1 drubbing at the hands of Leipzig. Only 2 teams have scored fewer than them, while only Greuther Fürth have conceded more. And while former coach Pal Dardai was clearly not doing well enough, with his side winning just 4 and losing 7 of their opening 13 games, the decision to replace him with Tayfun Korkut, who had been out of work since 2018 and hasn't lasted longer than 9 months in a job since leaving Hanover in 2015, was a puzzling one. He lost just 1 of his opening 4 games, but has picked up just 2 points from a possible 24 since the turn of the year. And it's definitely not a case of bad luck. His side ranks 2nd bottom for shots, 2nd bottom for expected goals, and 3rd bottom for expected goals against. They have struggled to replace the output of Matheus Cunha up front, and despite already using 5 different formations since taking over at the end of November, Korkut hasn't been able to find a shape or system that doesn't leave the backline horribly exposed, as evidenced by the fact they rank bottom of the league for pressures in the final third and 3rd bottom for pressures in the middle third. This wouldn't be as big a problem if they possessed an aggressive back line, but they don't, with the first choice centre-back pairing of Nicholas Stark and Dedrick Boyata averaging just 2.1 tackles and 2.9 interceptions a match between them. Numerous injuries and a COVID outbreak hasn't helped his cause, but Korkut is overseeing a very worrying situation at the Olympiastadion. So those were our 3 managerial changes that are not working. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, and why not subscribe to EFD if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, bye for now.